Today we're going to get into whether or not Moonlight Peaks is for you. Now you probably already have a pretty good idea of whether it is or isn't, but we're going to break everything down anyway. And if you have played it, let me know if you agree with some of these things. Now we're talking atmosphere, farming mechanics, story progression, socialization, balance, platforms, basically everything. First, let's get into the character design. Now I've talked about this before in my other two videos covering Moonlight Peaks, the demo and my first look, but your character is chibi style, which some people like and some people don't. Now, I personally am not usually for chibi style characters, but like I've said before, I think it actually works for this particular game. When you look at the design of the overall game itself, it makes sense. It matches, and over time, I don't think you'll pay much attention to it anyways. There's a good amount of customization options when it comes to facial features, hair, clothes, and accessories, and you'll be able to add additional clothes later on in the game, which I really appreciate. The interesting part is that the townsfolk are also chibi styled, but their portraits are giving very much realism, but you are able to alter between like two different styles of portraits for them. One is more detailed, more realistic, and the other one is more anime styled. And so I really like that they give you the option to choose between the two, and you can change it at any point in the game. Now let's get into the overall atmosphere. The selling point of this game is definitely the dark coziness. The spooky and cute vibes, the cool colors and muted tones really speak to the supernatural lovers. So many of us have played plenty of farming sims, but this one is set entirely at night, and when it's nearing 6 a.m., you better be back in your bed or in your coffin. It's giving Halloween and we are here for it, but more than that, it's just beautiful to look at. Something so minor but I loved was seeing how the moonlight gently brushed against the grass like waves. Chef's kiss. The entire moody vibe is perfect for relaxing on your couch or in bed and having a nice brain off playthrough in handheld mode, and I'll talk more about handheld mode later. Then we have the gentle music playing in the background. It was very fitting, very relaxing. However, I don't know what's going on with farming sims lately, but I need more music. It'll play one song and then I won't hear another song until like the next night, and it's not enough. During my first look, I actually had to add like some lo-fi music to fill the space because it was definitely noticeable. I think when it comes to games where you're grinding, foraging, and exploring, it's nice to have soft, gentle background music playing more continuously in the base game. Now, if you're the type to play your own music, then I think you'll be golden. I actually listened to some podcasts and some music myself when I played, but yeah, the music is really, really great. I just wanted more of it. Now, as far as the atmospheric sound effects, you have your crickets, your owl noises, your rustling of leaves, which are all balanced really, really well. There was never a point where I thought it was too much or out of place, and y'all, I didn't hear that scary crow this time. Now, I heard a crow, but it didn't sound like it was choking anymore. Now, as far as other sound effects like hitting rocks, chopping trees, bugs scurrying around, all sound really, really nice as well, no notes. Chester has also calmed down quite a bit from the demo. Now, some of you guys said you love his sound effects, but every single time you click on something to sell, nah, it was too much. But now he only makes those sounds when you first click on him and when you're done. So now Chester's cool with me. Okay, let's move to the farming aspect of the game. The farming loop is pretty much the same as all other farming sims. You have your shovel, and so you can till the ground, you plant your seeds, you water them, and then eventually you harvest. The difference with this game is, well, there's a few things, but one is that your crops are more supernatural. Now, some are basic like wheat, but then others are like blood grapes, and then there's also one that looks like it's an eye or something. I can't think of the name of it, but there are crops that require magic to water them. So this game keeps it very familiar while adding fun features, and you'll get to use your wand. Now, the game starts you with your basic tools, but your wand is broken when you start. You also won't have a net or fishing rod just yet. However, you start with your main farming tools that won't ever break, and so you don't have to worry about that, and they are upgradable. When you first plant your grapes, because of the storyline, that's what you'll start with, it's super simple and straightforward. I love the watering aspect. However, you will run out of water very quickly, but y'all, it's so smooth. It's so smooth. You don't have to go like one square at a time. See, now I'm spoiled, and I want every farming sim to do this. The other part of the game that is also pretty smooth is the tool wheel and how easy it is to transition from tool to tool. This game makes taking care of your farm extremely easy and it becomes second nature. I want to say this here as well, your farm is a complete mess, as they always are, but oh my goodness, preparing your lot for planting crops is something else. For me, chopping down trees was for the birds. It took so long to chop one tree and then the trunk. Now, I know we have a weak tool and trees are big, but I just don't recall in other farming sims trees taking this long to chop down. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I just didn't feel that way when it came to breaking rocks, but the trees. The reason this was so bothersome to me was similar to when I played the demo and I kept trying to catch those bugs and I blew through all my energy. It was the same with the trees. I cut down like 2 of them and I guess suddenly now I'm out of breath, no energy, and I couldn't do nothing else. I do recommend clearing the lot on the left first and planting crops there during the early game so you'll be close to the water, just saying. As you progress through the game though, you'll be able to use magic to help with farming as well. Eventually you'll get supernatural livestock. You'll first start with a variant of a chicken. They're actually super cute, and if you played the demo then this will feel familiar. Now the little chickens always run away from you when you first try to pet them, but at least they don't run for too long. Later you'll be able to get other animals that are variants of like sheep and cows and whatnot, so that's also pretty cool. You'll take care of them the same way you would any other farming sim. Just make sure they're fed, you pet them, and you know, carry on. Something that I absolutely love and unique to this game is the ability to communicate with your animals when you're in your cat form. When you're in your human form, they just make animal noises, but when you're in your cat form, they actually talk to you, and sometimes they make these adorable little statements, even flirty statements, you know, because they like other animals, and sometimes they throw in shade. Also on your farm, we can't forget about your home. Coming from the demo, your house is definitely smaller, but you'll be able to upgrade and add rooms later on. The interior of the house does come with a cooking pot, a crafting table, a mirror, and of course your coffin. I love how the game sets you up so that you're ready to go, completely bypassing the steps of having to craft those things so you can focus on other things. I like that. I also want to point out another highlight, which is how easy it is to move around objects on your lot. When you place an item and then change your mind, it's super simple to press up on the directional pad and you highlight the item and just move it to wherever you want it to go, just like that. You don't have to put it in your pocket and then run around and then place it, especially like moving chests. You can just move the whole chest with everything in them easily, and you can even move Chester around. All right, now let's get into activities and mini games. So let's talk about other things to do besides planting crops. I love that Moonlight Peaks continuously adds new and fun activities and mini games within the game as you play. It's not all at once though, it's like through story progression and seasonal, which helps give more reasons to keep playing. Later in the game, you'll get your other basic tools like a fishing rod and a net, but the game will also introduce potion brewing, card games, flower arranging, pottery, and embroidery. Now, you may not be interested in all of those things, but I love that there are options and more things to do. I want to touch on fishing and bug catching. Now, fishing is insanely easy, and so for people who usually turn away when it comes to fishing and farming sims, this one will be great. It's more similar to Animal Crossing than like Stardew Valley. Once the fish latches on, you pull, that's it. Now on the flip side, since it is so easy, people who like challenges may end up a little more bored with the fishing part. I actually didn't find myself fishing as much, especially when your stamina is already so limited. But then there's the bug catching, and I use quotations because you'll be catching more than just bugs. And I actually found this one way more difficult. Fishing and bug catching are like on the opposite sides of the spectrum. The bugs and things are so quick, and every time you swing your net, you lose a chunk of energy, which I did not like. Now, some people may be really good with bug catching, but sheesh, it's a lot. I mean, it's fun, but it's a lot. Okay, now let's get into the map and quality of life. The map is actually pretty big and it's really easy to get lost at first, but obviously the more you play, you realize it's not so bad at all. There are places in Moonlight Peaks where the paths are very like windy, but I like it and it feels more natural, and I like how the sections connect. Makes exploring feel more rewarding, and there's lots of forageables to gather and sell, so I think this is definitely a win. Honestly, every part of the map is very unique and filled with with greenery, objects, and items and whatnot. The spaces are filled, y'all, especially going into the houses of the townsfolk. I absolutely love how each home is like adorably cluttered with so many witchy items and potions and things. It looked so great. Here's the thing though, as you move from one section of the map to another, you're hit with these blank loading screens. Now, I played on a PC and on my Steam Deck, and the loading screens aren't fun, but they weren't terribly long. However, people playing on the Switch, especially, or more specifically, the Switch 1, state that the loading screens are way too long. And I've seen so many people post this complaint, and I've even come across one player stating that it took as long as 4 minutes just leaving out of the barn. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, the devs are actively working on fixing this particular problem, and so by the time you watch this video, it could already be fixed, but just a heads up. Another thing is with the UI. So if you're walking around and you need to quickly check the map, you actually have to open up the whole menu and then scroll over to the map instead of there being a dedicated map button. It seems minor, but when you have a big map in a game where you constantly have to be like on the hunt for townsfolk for different quests, it's more of an annoying extra step, you know? However, I'm so glad that the townsfolk do pop up on the map, and when they're inside of a building, you'll see like a little number of how many people are inside, and you can hover over it and then see who's inside. So I really like that. That's nice. This next thing can be a pro or a con depending on what you're doing in that moment. Hear me out. Okay, so once you cross over into another section of the map, if you're due for a cutscene, it'll begin anywhere in that section of the map. Okay, so let's say you're leaving your lot and you're trying to upgrade your tool at the Howling Hammer. Well, you're hit with a cutscene that just so happens to be on the other side of the section of the map near the bar, right? Well, the cutscene is over and now you're still stuck over there by the bar, nowhere near the Howling Hammer so you can upgrade your tool. Now, it's not a big deal, and sometimes it's actually more helpful because you might be closer to where you were trying to go in the first place, but sometimes it puts you farther away. And this became more noticeable to me when I was already running late and then I was farther away from the shop and then it was closed by the time I got there. On a positive side, if you don't make it home in time before 6 a.m., there's no penalty, no money loss, no stamina loss, no lecture. You just get to wake up in your coffin and that's it. You just turn into some little bats and then fly home. This helps when it comes to wanting to play a stress-free game. Farming sims are supposed to be cozy and relaxing, but I'm not gonna lie, y'all, sometimes they're everything but, okay? I'm always super stressed. I usually have like notebook papers open, tabs open, so I don't miss something, miss a birthday, have to wait till the next year to do something. See, that's where this game is different. It's way more stress-free and way more relaxed. You can take your time completing quests, you can work on things at a more chill pace, so that's definitely the highlight. Speaking of chill, there's no combat in this game, and so going to the caves to collect resources is way more relaxed as well. It was actually a breath of fresh air, not having to fight for my life to get copper and iron, y'all. Now, I do like combat and farming sims, but I also like not having combat and farming sims. The last thing with the map is as you're exploring, you'll run into these little creatures. I actually thought they were like little chickens, like the dev team name, Little Chicken. But no, they're actually called Vampsters, and you have to pick each one up and transport them to another part of the map one at a time. Now, this is great if you're the type that likes collecting things, but it is very, very tedious. If you accidentally drop one of them suckers, they run away and you have to go all the way back and get them and carry them again. Tedious. But they are cute though with their adorable little hats and stuff. Now let's get into the socialization aspect. So pretty much the townsfolk are broken up into 4 factions. You got your vampires, your werewolves, the witches, and the seers. Each member in these factions have very unique and interesting personalities, so it's so fun to see how they interact with you and each other. I love it. However, when you have different groups, oftentimes there's some kind of rivalry or beef between them. So throughout the game and storylines, you'll constantly have to deal with all of the drama, in which you're usually stuck in the middle of it by having to do fetch quests to help settle the score. It's silly, but it breaks up the daily routine, which is nice. Beyond the drama, the townsfolk have fun dialogue, and I love how they chat with one another outside of like the coffee shop or like when they're fishing, which helps the town feel more lively. I will say though that I wasn't as quick to chat with the townsfolk. Anytime I was just wandering around, I would just pass by them and continue doing what I was doing. But their cutscenes are definitely interesting though. There's also romance, and similar to your typical farming sim, you give gifts to increase your hearts with who you're interested in. You also give gifts for birthdays, and there's also festivals to help with engaging with others as well and increasing hearts. Unfortunately, the events like the festivals lack stuff to do. There's no mini games or socialization beyond the normal 1 or 2 liners, gift options, and goodbye. So pretty much the events are decorated like an event, but feels extremely empty, and oftentimes you're sitting around waiting for something to happen, or it might even take 2 days before the event's conclusion. There's one in particular where I didn't know what to do, so I was just gonna leave, but apparently I was supposed to stay and hear the announcement, and it's just random when it'll happen, so I just sat down and waited, and it was kind of awkward. Hopefully in a future update we will get mini games or something to make them more meaningful, but for now festivals and some events are pretty lacking. Not all, because there was one that I really liked where you get to do stuff. At the end of the day, it doesn't weigh heavy enough to stop the overall enjoyment of the game. All right, let's get into game progression and mechanics. So while the game is freeing and you can take your time doing different tasks, you are still forced to complete quests in order to progress the story, in order to unlock important things, basically everything. Each quest is linked to something important that you'll need, and so you can't ignore it for long, but the game does a great job of making sure you have stuff to do. Nearly every day there's a quest or something to work on, which I really like. Now again, I'm not a fan of the energy bar and how quickly and easily it depletes. And sadly, there aren't many food options to increase your energy high enough. It'll be like 2 points or something. Of course, you're a vampire, and so you want blood-based food, which will give you the most energy. But yeah, it's just a rough system overall, especially in the early game. As far as storage goes, I really love that you can dump everything inside your home storage, which is infinite, and so you're not dependent on crafting chests. And you will also be able to increase your pocket storage as you progress through the game. Also, when crafting items on your lot, it does pull from your storage, which is amazing, and I appreciate that so much. And of course, in order to save your game, you have to go to bed, and then once you do, then your game is saved. So yeah, it's just a farming sim rite of passage. It's just how it is. All right, now let's talk about performance and value. Again, I played on a PC and on the Steam Deck, and I did not experience many issues. Everything was, flowed very well and was very responsive. I did have one moment where I ended up stuck between some items, and I did look for like an I am stuck button, and I didn't see it. So that would have been nice to have. But overall, everything ran really, really well. Like I said earlier, the biggest complaint was the length of time when it came to the loading screens on the Switch, and some players reported that their game constantly crashed. Again, more so with the Switch 1. I think if we were going to go from the most flawless experience, PC would rank the highest, and then Switch 2, and then Switch 1. Like I said before, the devs are actively fixing these issues, and so when it comes to the Switch 1, I just think it needs a little more time. I made a post where I stated that I actually put way more hours into Moonlight Peaks through playing on my Steam Deck, because this is the kind of game that is meant for playing while laying on your couch or laying in bed. I can't explain it. It just is. Of course, I played on my PC, and graphically it looked stunning, but I don't know, y'all. This game is just meant to be handheld. If I didn't have a Steam Deck, I honestly would have gotten it for my Switch too, but that's just me. Now, the price point. Base price is $35 US, and so is it worth it at that price? If you're the type of gamer who loves the idea of a supernatural farming sim at night, and you're looking for a well-polished, brain-off game that you can snuggle up with and play for a couple of hours at a time, and you love the idea of decorating your farm with lots of adorable items and objects, then I think this game would be worth it for you. So many people are spending a lot of hours and putting a lot of hours into this game, and so it's definitely received really, really well. The fact that there's romance, adorable NPC banter, and lots of customization makes it great for your gaming library. However, if you're burnt out on farming sims, looking for depth, want excitement, action, and or combat, or you're not moved at all by the idea of a supernatural farming sim, then I would say either skip it or wait for a sale. A lot of the hype surrounding Moonlight Peaks is just the simple fact that it's focused around the supernatural. That is the big selling point. It's also way more relaxed than other farming sims. Now, I think it's a well-made game with little quirks, and so if you're at all interested, then waiting for a sale would be best. I've played over 30 hours so far, and so there may be things that I'll find out the more that I continue to play, but I will say this is the kind of game where the more you play, the better and better it gets. There's not a lot of empty time, there's always something to do, but there's no pressure. The characters are really fun and unique, and this game takes simple farming sim tropes and adds a little bit of magic to them. When I did my first look, I felt like I wasn't completely sold yet, but I can confidently say that I'm really enjoying Moonlight Peaks, and I'm glad that I got it. And this is coming from Lil Miss, I'm tired of farming sims. So not really, but kinda. Seriously though, after I played those 2 hours, I went and made that video and then went back to playing, and then I was like, oh, this gets better and better the more you keep playing, huh? All right. Which at the end of the day is a really good sign. But where are you at with Moonlight Peaks? Have you been playing it? What are your overall thoughts so far? And how many hours have you invested? And also, what are you playing it on? And if you're not playing, what's holding you back? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and you relate with anything I talked about, please give this video a like. It really helps my channel. And don't forget to subscribe for more cozy content. I appreciate you so much. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week or weekend. Take some time to focus on doing whatever it is that you like to do, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.